The moment Darren Whitmore saw her across the ballroom, his champagne froze halfway to his lips. Ava Reynolds stood near the floor-to-ceiling windows, city lights wrapping around her like a crown. She wore a midnight blue dress that didn't ask for permission to exist. Calm, unbothered, powerful. She wasn't supposed to be here. Not at his anniversary gala. Not in his world anymore. Baby, who is that? Chloe whispered, her perfectly manicured hand tightening around Darren's arm. Nobody, he said too fast. Just someone from before. But Ava wasn't looking at him. Her eyes followed a man moving through the crowd. And when Darren saw who it was, his stomach dropped. Lucas Blackwell. The billionaire investor who had been quietly circling Darren's company for months. The man whose approval could triple a valuation, or erase one overnight. The man who never showed interest unless he already knew something everyone else didn't. Darren watched, unable to move, as Lucas walked straight past senators, tech moguls and reporters, and stopped directly in front of Ava. Like she was the only person in the room. 4 years earlier, everything had looked very different. Back then, Darren and Ava worked out of a converted auto shop that smelled like oil, instant noodles and broken dreams. 12 startups packed into tight corners. Everyone convinced they were one breakthrough away from changing the world. It's failing, Darren had muttered at 1:47 a.m., staring at declining metrics on his laptop. We're bleeding money. Shipping delays are killing us. Customers are leaving faster than we can replace them. Ava didn't panic. She looked up from her screen, her locks tied back, eyes tired but razor-sharp. Show me the bottlenecks. 3 weeks later, she built something no one else had imagined. A self-learning optimization engine that predicted supply chain failures before they happened. Turned chaos into precision. Delays into dominance. Darren watched the first live test run in silence. This is insane, he whispered. Ava, you're a genius. She smiled softly. We're a team. That's why it works. He kissed her then. Tasting burnt coffee, ambition, and the future they thought they were building together. Their first major investor pitch was supposed to be their moment. Darren stood backstage, presentation loaded on Ava's laptop. The one filled with her models. Her architecture. Her logic. You ready? She asked, straightening his jacket like she always did before big moments. We're ready, he said. But when the lights came up, Darren walked out alone. Good morning, he said confidently. I'm Darren Whitmore, and I'm here to show you the future of enterprise automation. From the back row, Ava went completely still. He presented her system as his vision. Her sleepless nights as his brilliance. Her genius as his breakthrough. Afterward, she waited for him in the parking garage. Why didn't you say my name? She asked quietly. We crushed it, Darren said, still high on applause. They want in. Ava, this changes everything. You said your innovation, she replied. I built that system. He sighed, already rehearsed. Investors don't bet on partnerships. They bet on one face. One story. And that was the moment everything began to break. The first check came 2 weeks later. $2 million. Darren held it like it was proof that everything he'd done was justified. They believe in us, he said, waving it slightly. In what we're building. Ava stared at the paper, then at him. They believe in you, she corrected quietly. He didn't argue. He just smiled, leaned in, and kissed her forehead like she was being emotional instead of right. The shift happened slowly. First it was small. Her name disappeared from the pitch deck. Then from the website. Then from the company bio. She's our lead technical advisor, Darren told reporters. My wife keeps me grounded, he told investors. She helps with back-end stuff, he laughed during interviews. Ava stopped correcting him after the third time he brushed her off. Later, he'd say. Not now. Let's not complicate things. And when she finally pushed back, really pushed. This company doesn't exist without me. Darren's voice hardened for the first time. And it won't exist at all if I lose investor confidence. That's when she understood. This wasn't temporary. This was strategy. Helix dynamics exploded. Contracts multiplied. Media attention surged. Awards followed. And Darren Whitmore became the face of innovation. magazine covers, conference keynotes, TED-style talks where he spoke about vision and intuition and grit. Ava watched from the shadows, building, fixing, optimizing while he took the applause. At night, she lay awake beside him, listening to him rehearse speeches that described her work as if it had come to him in a dream. "You okay?" he'd ask, half asleep. "I'm fine," she'd lie. The first real fracture came with the lawyers. "We need to clean up the paperwork," Darren said one evening, sliding a folder across the kitchen counter. Ava flipped it open. Revised equity agreements. IP ownership clauses. Her stake reduced to nearly nothing. "What is this?" she asked. "Standard restructuring," he replied calmly. "It protects the company. It erases me." He didn't deny it. "Ava, this is how companies scale. You'll still be taken care of." She closed the folder slowly. "I didn't build this to be taken care of," she said. "I built this to be seen." For the first time, Darren looked annoyed. "You're being emotional." That single word ended the marriage. The night Ava left, Darren didn't chase her. He let her go with a suitcase, a laptop, and the belief that no one would ever side with her over him. Within 6 months, the divorce was finalized. Within 8, Darren remarried. Chloe was everything Ava wasn't allowed to be. Public, polished, unthreatening. And the story became simple. Darren Whitmore, visionary founder. Ava Reynolds, supportive ex-wife who moved on. The industry forgot her. Or so Darren believed. What he never knew was that Ava never stopped building. She rewrote her system from scratch. Improved it. Hardened it. And this time she protected herself. When a quiet venture firm asked who really built the original Helix engine, Ava didn't answer with anger. She answered with data. That question eventually reached one man. A man who hated lies more than risk. A man who had never invested in Darren, only watched. Lucas Blackwell. 3 months before the gala, Lucas sat across from Ava in a private conference room overlooking the bay. "Why didn't you fight him?" Lucas asked. Ava met his gaze steadily. "Because I didn't need revenge," she said. "I needed timing." Lucas smiled for the first time that day. "That," he said, "is the most dangerous answer I've heard all year." No. Here they were, walking into Darren's celebration together. Because Lucas hadn't come to toast success. He'd come to expose a lie. Darren felt it before anything actually happened. That subtle change in the room. The way conversations softened. The way people stopped looking at him and started watching them. Lucas Blackwell didn't rush. He moved with the confidence of a man who never needed permission. His hand rested lightly at Ava's back, not possessive, just present. Chloe leaned closer to Darren. "Why is Lucas Blackwell here?" Darren swallowed. "I invited him." It was a lie. And she heard it. Lucas paused near the center of the ballroom, greeting a few investors with polite nods. Then he turned to Ava. "Would you like a drink?" he asked. "I'm good," Ava replied. Her voice was steady, grounded. "Taken." Darren hated that most of all. Someone laughed too loudly nearby. A photographer snapped a picture. The flash caught Ava's face, and suddenly recognition sparked in the eyes of a few people standing close. "Wait," one man murmured. "Isn't that?" Darren stepped forward quickly. Too quickly. "Ava," he said, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Didn't expect to see you here." She turned. Really turned. And looked at him the way one might look at a stranger who owed them money. "Darren," she said evenly. "Congratulations." Chloe's eyes flicked between them. "You know each other?" "We were married," Darren said before Ava could answer. Lucas raised an eyebrow. "Were," he repeated softly. The silence that followed was thick. Lucas extended his hand to Darren. "Lucas Blackwell," he said. "We've spoken by email." "Yes," Darren replied quickly, shaking it. "I've been hoping we could talk investment." Lucas smiled. "Oh, we will." "Not might. Well." The music softened as a staff member approached the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, Mr. Whitmore would like to say a few words." Darren exhaled in relief. This was his domain. The stage. The narrative. He stepped up, glass in hand. Tonight is about gratitude, he began. Helix Dynamics wouldn't be here without vision, persistence, and belief. Lucas interrupted him. May I ask a question first? Gasps. Murmurs. No one interrupted Darren Whitmore. Except Lucas Blackwell. Darren froze, smile tightening. Of course, he said. Lucas gestured casually toward Ava. Who designed Helix's core optimization engine? The room went silent. Darren laughed nervously. That was an internal collaboration. Lucas nodded. Specifically. Darren's eyes flicked to Ava. Then back to the crowd. I led development, he said. With support from my technical team. Lucas turned to Ava. Is that true? Every camera shifted. Ava didn't hesitate. No. One word. Pling. Unapologetic. Whispers erupted instantly. Chloe stepped back like she'd been pushed. Lucas reached into his jacket and pulled out a slim tablet. Funny thing about intellectual property, he said calmly. It remembers who touched it first. He tapped the screen. Diagrams appeared on the massive display behind Darren. Time-stamped files. Original architecture. Code commits dated years before Helix's incorporation. All under one name. Ava Reynolds. Darren felt the floor tilt. He started. That's internal documentation. Lucas cut him off. Which triggers Section 14C of your Series B agreement, he said. The clause you never read because you didn't think it applied. Darren's mouth went dry. Chloe turned sharply. What clause? Lucas smiled without warmth. The one that transfers controlling interest back to the original creator in cases of misattributed authorship. The room exploded. Darren dropped the microphone. Ava stepped forward, calm as ever. I didn't come to embarrass you, she said quietly. I came to reclaim what was always mine. Lucas looked at her. Then, slowly, deliberately, he leaned in and kissed her. Not dramatic. Not rushed. Just enough. The message was clear. Cameras flashed wildly. Chloe stared at Darren like she was seeing him for the first time. And Darren finally understood something he'd ignored for years. He hadn't lost Ava that night in the parking garage. He lost her the moment he thought her brilliance belonged to him. The room didn't just buzz. It fractured. Phones came out instantly. Whispers turned into urgent murmurs. Someone near the bar quietly said, "Oh my God," like they'd just watched a live execution. Darren stood frozen, staring at the screen behind him like it might disappear if he blinked hard enough. It didn't. Ava's name stayed there. Bright. Undeniable. Chloe's voice cut through the noise. Darren, she said slowly, dangerously calm. Is this true? He turned to her, panic leaking through the cracks of his composure. It's not what it looks like. Lucas let out a short breath, almost a laugh. That's usually how lies die, he said. Reporters surged forward, microphones raised. Mr. Whitmore, did you misrepresent authorship? Is Helix Dynamics facing an ownership dispute? Ms. Reynolds, are you the original architect? Security tried and failed to hold them back. Darren reached for the microphone again, but it was already gone. Control had left him. Across the room, Chloe took a step back. You told me your ex was just emotional, she said. That she didn't understand business. Ava met her eyes, not with triumph but clarity. I understood it very well, Ava said. That's why I left. Chloe looked at Darren, really looked. For the first time she wasn't seeing a visionary. She was seeing a man who'd built everything by standing on someone else's back. She removed her hand from his arm. I need air. And walked away. Lucas turned to the crowd. For transparency, he said evenly, my firm will be issuing a formal statement within the hour. A hush fell. We are suspending all negotiations with Helix Dynamics effective immediately. The words hit like a body blow. Darren staggered back. But, you said you'd talk investment. Lucas nodded. I am. He turned toward Ava. My firm will be backing Reynolds Systems. Effective tonight. The room erupted. Within minutes, Darren's phone started vibrating non-stop. Board members. legal counsel, PR executives. One voicemail slipped through, playing aloud by mistake. Darren, trading has been temporarily halted. We need you on the line now. The investors he'd toasted minutes earlier were already distancing themselves. People he once called friends avoided his eyes. Ava stood quietly beside Lucas, watching it all, not with joy but closure. Darren lunged toward her. You planned this, he hissed. You waited. Yes, Ava said. Because rushing wouldn't have hurt you enough. His face twisted. You're destroying everything. She tilted her head. No, she said calmly. I'm correcting the record. Security approached Darren gently but firmly. Sir, we need to escort you out. Chloe watched from across the room, eyes glassy. Don't follow me, she said when Darren tried to speak. I don't know who you are. And then she was gone too. Outside, cameras flashed as Darren was ushered into the night. Inside, Ava took a slow breath. For the first time in years, the weight was gone. Lucas glanced at her. You okay? She nodded. I am now. By morning, Darren Whitmore's face was everywhere. Not on magazine covers. On headlines. Helix Dynamics halts trading amid ownership dispute. Former wife claims original authorship of core tech. Billionaire investor walks away. Baxi ex-founder. The narrative Darren spent years polishing collapsed in a single night. By noon, 3 board members resigned. By evening, Helix's valuation had dropped nearly 40%. And by the end of the week, Darren was no longer CEO. The lawsuit was brief. Painfully brief. The evidence was overwhelming. Time-stamped files. Emails. Source code backups Darren didn't know existed. When the judge ruled, it wasn't dramatic. It was final. Full ownership of the core technology was returned to Ava Reynolds. Darren sat silently as the ruling was read, realizing too late that arrogance had been his biggest vulnerability. Ava didn't celebrate. She worked. Within months, Reynolds Systems launched publicly, leaner, smarter, and ethically built from the ground up. Lucas kept his promise but never tried to take credit. She doesn't need a savior, he told reporters. She needs room. And she took it. Her company grew fast but carefully. No stolen ideas. No erased names. Every contributor was credited. Every success shared. One evening months later, Ava stood on a different stage. A real one. A global tech summit. Thousands in attendance. She adjusted the microphone and looked out over the crowd. For a long time, she said, I believed my work would speak for itself. I was wrong. The room was silent. Talent without ownership is just labor someone else profits from. Applause rose slowly. Then thundered. After the event, Lucas met her backstage. You changed the industry, he said. She smiled, not at the compliment but at the truth behind it. I changed my standards. Across the city, Darren watched the live stream alone in a dim apartment that echoed when he moved. No assistance. No applause. No illusion. Just the realization that you can't build a future by stealing someone else's mind. Ava stepped outside into the night air, city lights stretching endlessly ahead. She hadn't just reclaimed her work. She reclaimed herself. And this time, no one could take that from her.